Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake, and hello. Good to see you. Happy Friday. My word, we made it through another week. This one was a doozy. A lot of good things and a lot of bad things, but we did make it, and we're still here. We're still fighting. Couple of housekeeping things for y'all. Mostly just to tell you what I'm working on behind the scenes before inevitably it falls apart. Number one, trying to work with YouTube to see if I can stream YouTube music without getting a copyright strike or getting anybody else in trouble. Because that seems unlikely to me. If you don't know, YouTube also has a music streaming platform called YouTube Music, with just every song that exists basically on it. And yeah, if that works out, we are going to start doing a show on Sundays that is designed to bring in a wider audience. And maybe, just at the end of it, talk a little politics. But that is as much detail as I will go into because, to me, it seems unlikely. Just one of those things where it occurred to me that it was worth asking YouTube. I'll keep you updated. Thing number 2. Friday Peace Talks. I'm very excited for the system we have now for actually sharing links. Only took several attempts to get it up and running. It is up and running now. Updating you from last week, we might be able to take calls. I was doubtful that it would be possible, but no. It does look indeed possible, and so far, now I'm blanking, but there is an app for that, and so I think we will incorporate it. Is not yet ready to go, however, so no calls on this show. Let's say hi to the Wicked community. What's going on in the Senate? Wireless Mike, hello. Wicked Foxy Dragon, hello. Good to see the both of you. Rex Trek, good to see you. Good evening. Lawrence St. Laurent, good to see you, sir. Hello. Haven't had a chance to watch a show in a while. We'll have to catch up. Well, lordy, the algorithm will appreciate it. Let's dive right into this. We've got we've got great suggestions already sitting in the queue. I'm going to jump in to a viewer suggestion from last week instead of doing our thing that was at the top of the list in the description. Because I meant to do it last week, other things got in the way, and then, of course, as always happens, it became extraordinarily relevant. Quick refresher on the Peace Talk rules. Say hello to anybody that enters. Don't do personal insults. And, of course, hold me accountable as well when I F these up. Here is Representative, it was Wicked Foxy Dragon that submitted this, and here is Representative Jamal Bowman just absolutely blowing up on somebody that deserves it because, in my opinion, this person is willing to let children die for political reasons.
Democratic Representative Jamal Bowman has had enough of the Republican Party's lack of concern for gun violence. So now, he's standing in the halls of the Capitol and calling these cowards out to their faces. I'm Gabe Sanchez, and if you'd like to support this show and get some bonus extras, you can join my Patreon at whatwasthatshow.com. Now, for more on these apathetic Republicans, it's time for What Was That?
It's a good gimmick.
The sad truth is, another day in America means another mass shooting. And while Republicans don't care about mass shootings anymore, Democrats like Representative Jamal Bowman, who is a former teacher and school principal, isn't holding anything back.
They have control of the House. The American people need to know that they don't have the courage to do anything to save the lives of children.
The Republican Party has complete control of the House, and they are actively choosing to sit idly by as children die. It's disgusting and unacceptable. And Jamal Bowman is just getting started.
And they go to the Senate, ask the same questions. They're cowards. They're all cowards. They won't do anything to save the lives of our children at all. Cowards.
All right, so I'm not sure the context in which he is calling them cowards outside of not passing legislation. But I do. Oh, good. I'm not recording this. Fantastic. But I generally agree. I assume it has to do with the fact that their base has been told to be very pro this, and it snowballed. And I think that is where the specific jeer of calling them cowards comes from. But look, at the end of the day, they are the group that are allowing children to be killed. No matter how you slice it, other countries don't have this problem. In the United States, when we had a simple assault weapons ban so that people couldn't carry around military hardware in the streets, for God's sake. When we had that, there was a reduction in gun violence. We should be doing that again. And the people that are preventing that from happening are Republicans. It's that simple. Every school shooting you have seen over the last 2 decades should be put around the necks of Republicans to weigh them down. It's their fault. It simply is. The only conversation to have is, are the deaths of these children worth what we're gaining for them? What Republicans say that we gain, I'm going to get rid of that box there. What Republicans say that we gain is the ability to resist the government should it ever come to that. It has only come to that in the United States a handful of times, and I'll tell you, every time it's happened, I have not wanted the rebels to win. Because usually by resisting the government, that ends up meaning resisting the will of the people. I don't like that. Second, I don't think, even if those guns were the only thing holding the American government at bay, not worth holding them at bay. It's not worth winning that fight if the cost is dead children. So Jamal Bowman, completely correct here. He's on the soapbox. Let's listen to him.
Pressure them. Force them to respond to the question, why the hell won't you do anything to save America's children? And let them explain that all the way up until election day on 2024.
Yes. Yes. A lot of the advocacy I'm going to put forward to you, and I had a video cut from the hard work I did this morning. Had a video cut, and I stopped it. I didn't even put it out for the lobbyists because I failed to mention that right there, what he's saying. The point of a lot of this, even when we know, for example, that the House will refuse to vote on something, is to bring them up and make Republicans say where they stand for the record. It's entirely so that their competition can hold up a voting record and say, look, Representative X voted against reasonable gun reform 23 times. Give him a 24th, a 25th. Build on it. Bring it up every single day and make them say that they won't talk about it. That is what I think we should do. And I am a very left-leaning guy, but I'm not saying this as a left-leaning guy. I am saying this simply as an American that doesn't want kids killed anymore. I think if, by the way, you are joining us from the other side of the aisle, welcome. And your voice will have a ton of power here. I don't believe that most of the people that vote for the folks that Jamal Bowman is yelling at right now, I don't believe that most of them want no gun reform. You got to tell that to your representatives. You, if you are joining us from across the aisle, welcome, but you are responsible for this, just like the rest of us. Do your part. Tell the folks that you've voted for that you did not vote to have Mad Max-style gun laws, which is to say, none.
Let them explain it all the way up to Election Day on 2024. They're freaking cowards. They're gutless. They're not here. I'm talking about gun violence.
Get 'em.
I'm talking about gun violence.
You better watch that finger.
Carry guns? You think more guns lead to more death? More guns lead to more death. Look at the data. You're not looking at any data. You're carrying the water for the gun lobby. Look at the data. More guns lead to more deaths. Good states.
Why are you putting your hands on Jamal Bowman? He didn't come up to the other guy. The other guy came up to him. And the yelling, listen to the words he's saying. It's completely justified.
Open carry laws have more death.
Yeah, let it be awkward, old man.
Open carry laws have more death. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Calm down. Children are dying. 9-year-old children. The solution is not arming.
Look, I'm normally all for being formal and having decorum and yada, 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 yada. Unless you're talking about kids dying, come on. Jesus Christ.
Teachers, have you ever worked in a school? 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 It's a yes or no question. Have you ever worked in a school? You will not answer my question.
Now that you've seen the heated exchange, let's break it down.
And then go to the Senate, ask the same questions. They're cowards. They're all cowards.
Ooh, I love, by the way, Wicked, Foxy Dragon, great suggestion. I love that this cat is going to break it down. I want to hear his opinions. I am not going to interrupt him for all of it, because I just want to hear what this guy's breakdown is, and then afterwards we'll come back and do a full assessment.
They won't do anything to save the lives of our children at all. Cowards. Pressure them. Force them to respond to the question, why the hell won't you do anything to save America's children? And let them explain that all the way up until Election Day on 2024. Let them explain it all the way up to Election Day on 2024. They're freaking cowards. They're gutless. They're not here. I'm talking about gun violence.
Some of you may recognize that gray mop-headed Republican from Kentucky that confronted Bowman. No, it's not Rand Paul, it's Thomas Massie. You know, the guy who sent this Christmas photo of his family holding guns just days after the deadly mass shooting at Oxford High School. Something that has become a disturbing trend among Republicans like Colorado Representative Lauren Boebert and Tennessee Representative Andrew Ogles, who, by the way, happens to be another resume-line Republican like George Santos. Anyway, call me crazy, but I don't think the people who grope guns with their family members in holiday photos should be the same ones deciding gun laws.
You know, I'm talking about gun violence. Carry guns? You think more guns lead to more death? More guns lead to more death. Look at the data. You're not looking at any data. You're carrying the water for the gun lobby. Look at the data. More guns lead to more deaths. Good. States that have open carry laws have more death. States that have open carry laws have more death.
Republicans love to argue for open carry laws because they believe the ability to carry a loaded handgun into public places will deter gun violence. You know, like the one that Tennessee Governor Bill Lee signed into law in 2021. Regardless of how Republicans try to spin it, open carry laws don't work. They actually increase the number of all homicides and increase the number of firearm homicides. And if you ever hear someone argue that a good guy with the gun stops a bad guy with the gun, call them out on their bull.
Uvalde.
I mean, just look at the deadly school shooting in Uvalde, where almost 400 law enforcement officers stood by while 19 children were slaughtered with an AR-15. But let's get back to Jamal Bowman absolutely destroying Thomas Massie.
Are you listening to what I'm saying? Calm down, children are dying.
Wait, what was that?
Are you listening to what I'm saying? Calm down, children are dying.
Not being calm is a normal response. Being upset is a normal response. Being sad or frustrated or angry because Republicans won't do a thing to stop these innocent children from dying in mass shootings is a normal response. The Republican response, or lack thereof, is cold, apathetic, and definitely not something that Jesus would do. You'd think the pro-life Republican Party that claims they want to save the children would want to fix our mass shooting problem, but nope. They only like to send thoughts and prayers.
9-year-old children. The solution is not arming teachers. Have you ever worked in a school? 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 It's a yes or no question. Have you ever worked in a school? You will not answer my question.
Massie is regurgitating the same dumb narrative that if you give teachers guns, there will never, ever, 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 ever be another school shooting ever again. The Republican Party, who is notorious for banning books and not giving teachers school supplies, now wants to pay for teachers to have guns in their classroom. Also, placing armed guards in schools does not protect students from mass shootings. In fact, one study found that schools with armed guards were more likely to have a higher death toll during a mass shooting. It's truly astounding how much the Republican Party will fight against performing the basic human instinct of caring for and protecting our loved ones. I mean, just look at Tennessee Representative Tim Burchett. He just accepts that mass shootings are an everyday occurrence.
3 precious little kids lost their lives, and I believe 3 adults, I believe it is. And the shooter, of course, lost their life too. So it's a horrible, horrible situation. And we're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals. And my daddy fought in the Second World War, fought in the Pacific, fought the Japanese, and he told me, he said, buddy, he said, if somebody wants to take you out and doesn't mind losing their life, there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it.
This is who Republicans are. The party of, it is what it is, so get over it. I can't believe I have to say this, but mass shootings are unacceptable and actually preventable. And Jamal Bowman is doing what every person in this country should be doing, exposing and shaming these NRA-backed Republicans for the gutless cowards that they truly are.
Pressure them. Force them to respond to the question, why the hell won't you do anything to save America's children? And let them explain that all the way up until election day on 2024.
Well, until next episode, I'm Gabe Sanchez, and this has been What Was That? If you enjoyed today's episode and want to support the work that goes into creating the What Was That show, you can join my Patreon at What Was That.
Oh, I got a lot to add. It was no notes for Gabe Sanchez. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say about this. Oh yeah, I saw this. Good on him, says Wireless Mike. Let me make sure I have that in context. Yeah. Well done, Jamal Bowman. Wicked Foxy Dragon says, I have to find a way to send the video of my dog talking to you. How are you, Zoe? Who's your good girl? I'm going to win her over. I can't have her being a bigger fan of Brian Tyler Cohen. Lauren St. Laurent says, I really like what the Democratic Party is turning into. Many great new people who hopefully will inspire other new people. Yes. The Democratic Party lost its fangs right around the 80s. And then became controlled by neoliberals, which, you know, in our time, it's hardly talked about. And I will bet a crisp American $20 bill that in 10, 20 years, the switch to neoliberalism as a guiding principle for Democrats is going to be discussed when it comes to what caused the situation we're in right now. But yes, we're the Democratic Party is a much better organization than it ever has been. And the best parts of it, I actually think, are going to split away from it in not too long to form their own party. You can't do 90% of the work and get 5% of the credit forever. Eventually, you will come to the realization that you are more valuable on your own. By the way, if you're working for a boss man and don't mind taking a little risk, consider not working for that boss man. Lauren St. Laurent says, if I was about to carry out a mass shooting, I'd get rid of the open carrying person first. Yeah. So that leads into some of the thoughts I was having there. The arming teachers, first of all, the students, presumably, go to the school they're shooting up. But even if they don't, and you know you're in a state where teachers are allowed to carry guns, then who's the first person you shoot when you come through the door? The teacher. And then further, I don't want to add to the qualifications necessary to be a teacher. I think that is, we already ask too much, you know? I've had plenty of teachers that I was fine with teaching me geometry or math or history, but I wouldn't be fine with them carrying a gun. You know, it's a ridiculous way to look at the problem, and I don't think it's even worth considering such solutions. Not because I wouldn't be willing to do something that a conservative liked in order to solve this problem. In fact, I'm willing, even though I don't think it is the key way to solve the problem, I'm willing to invest in school security. Anything to mitigate the deaths of children, yes. But I literally believe that arming teachers would do nothing. I believe that at best, it would only cause a few more deaths per year. At best. Yeah, it's real dark time, but how prescient or how what a good time, I guess, to look back on that. Because now we have these two Tennessee lawmakers expelled. And in the drama of their expulsion, trying to remember if expulsion's a real word. But in the drama of all that, it's easy to forget what they were expelled over. Well, that very same Tennessee lawmaker from that clip is in their state. The one that was saying, well, we just got to deal with it. I don't think there's anything you can do if someone's determined to kill you. Yeah, if they're determined to kill you and they've got a weapon of war in their hand, yeah, there probably isn't much you can do, which is why we're talking about taking those weapons out of their hands, because I don't want them or anybody else to carry it around. Doesn't make me safer. Doesn't make you safer. In my opinion, doesn't make anybody safer. It's just silly. And I'll go a step farther, and this is going to ruffle feathers if we have people joining us from across the aisle. Hear me out and search your soul and honestly tell me if I've got this right. But as much as I hear about defending the country, as much as I hear about that, I suspect the real reason that these folks that buy tons and tons of guns buy so many guns is because they're a fun toy for adults. It's to go play Rambo in the backyard. That's the impression that I get talking to folks. All the Second Amendment guys, they don't solemnly keep a shotgun that's gathering dust over the mantle. They take their guns and their kits with little mods to this and that, and they go into the woods and fire them off, or they go to a shooting range, or they hang out with their buddies and compare guns, but they it doesn't appear to be kept for a solemn purpose. They very much appear to be a hobby and an identity. And I'm fine with people having odd identities. In fact, I even have a replica cowboy pistol. Once upon a time, I was filming a movie with my buddies, and I bought it, so I kept it, and I love the thing. It's a fun little toy. You practice doing tricks. Nothing wrong with that, but if owning that fake cowboy pistol resulted, even in a 2 or 3 degrees of separation way, in children dying, I would toss it out immediately because it is a toy and I acknowledge it as such. I think if you are on the side that collects weapons of war, full-on assault rifles, as a hobby, you have to consider how destructive your hobby is to others. Give it some thought. And if you disagree, let me know in the comments. Ooh, wireless mic. Let's see. I've never used Google Spreadsheets. Yes, it did go through. Yes, it did. All right. Well, let's play a couple of these. Oh, we got 3 from Patrick Kibido as well. We're going to go through these suggestions. Patrick, I'm going to tell you, you better believe we're going to do that Mehdi Hassan, Matt Taibbi breakdown for sure. First, though, we are going to attempt to do wireless mics suggestion because it is on this same topic, and I feel like that's going to make for a good chat replay. And while I download this, let me just read the messages this website is putting up. Oh. Well, apparently there's single women in my area who are free for sexual intercourse. Well, fantastic. I'll put a pin in that and come back to it later. Is there anybody that still falls for ads like that? Is there anybody that ever did? I just feel like if you're the sort of person who would require an internet site to randomly connect you with somebody, then you would be familiar with the fact that life is never that easy. This, ladies and gentlemen, is called Patter, and it's very useful in the entertainment business. But unfortunately, there can come such a time that you run out of Patter. Oh, thank God it's downloading. All right. The transition here is going to be rough, but thank you, Wireless Mike, for the suggestion. Also, let me know if you would like to do... Let me know how you feel about this stuff, and if you would ever like to do it in the main show, like as an ending segment type thing. Not really sure how I feel about that. I like the general concept, but I worry that we may stray too far from the core concept, which is... you can't really improvise it. You have to do a lot of work ahead of time and to show people what you can do. But let me know if you would be interested in that, and I'll consider just making it part of the show. I will say I like the idea of a little bit of randomness. Okay. Well, we're going to try playing it. Hopefully, in a moment, we will have from News Channel 5, Tennessee's never-ending gun problem. Stand by. This is for editing purposes.
Well, that's a chant we have heard time and time again. We know the debate over guns in the Tennessee legislature seems to be never ending.
A mass shooting leads to debate, nothing happens, and then the next mass shooting, and the next debate. For more than a
Holy God. I do truly love local news. Yeah, I've never heard that said so concisely on the news. Hell yeah. Go get them.
Here, News Channel 5's Revealed investigation has taken a hard look at how Tennessee's Capitol Hill really works, or as some say, doesn't work.
That investigation has been led by our chief investigative reporter, Phil Williams. Phil.
Well,
All right, get him,
after the
Phil.
Covenant School shooting, I began digging through 6 years of legislation. What I discovered are many bills over the years that most Tennesseans would consider to be common sense solutions to try to protect the innocent. But Tennessee's Republican supermajority has repeatedly blocked those bills, arguing the need to protect gun rights.
God damn.
House Bill 1588 by Leader
House Bill
Kemper.
1161 by Representative
Senate
Stewart.
Bill 1021. Senator Campbell, you're recognized.
Here on Tennessee's Capitol Hill,
This is not a novel piece of legislation.
the debates can sometimes seem far removed from the real world in which most Tennesseans live. That is, until something like this happens. The mass shooting at Nashville's Covenant School followed years of debate over gun policy in the Tennessee legislature, debate that more often than not ended with nothing changing. Among those rushing to the place where parents hoped to be reunited with their children was the area's state senator.
I spent hours that seemed like days. I mean, it was a long day.
There, Heidi Campbell says she came face to face with families for whom she has fought.
And at one point in the congregation, I heard this primal scream come from this woman who had just found out that she'd lost her child, and I will never forget it. It was anguish. It was just horrible. Just nobody should ever have to go through that.
After
I sincerely hope that we can popularize this channel, popularize the peace talks in particular, because I would like, genuinely, to talk with Republicans about this. I don't know how you can see this and ever support someone who is part of the problem. I just don't know. I don't know what else you think you're gaining that justifies this. I don't know what you think you're gaining. Whatever it is, in my opinion, not worth it.
For the Parkland school shooting, then Governor Bill Haslam talked about the need to beef up school security.
Everything from school resource officers to physical improvements in the schools to video monitors.
And after Uvalde, Governor Bill Lee again wanted to talk school security.
We're not looking at gun restrictions or gun laws as a part of this school safety plan going forward.
Even after Covenant, Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally's first statement was about, you guessed it, school security. Do we have a school security problem?
No, I don't think that's the solution. We can't militarize our schools. And even if we could, we can't militarize them enough.
We also don't have a motive at this time.
In this case, police say the shooter was being treated for some sort of mental illness, but the shooter's family was powerless to do anything. It was a similar story for the shooter in Nashville's Antioch church shooting in 2017 and the Waffle House mass shooting in 2018.
We've been really working on this for a very long time.
Over and over, Democrats have pushed for a so-called red flag law that would allow the courts to take weapons out of the hands of such mentally unstable individuals.
This isn't about gun rights. It's about living rights.
Over and over, Tennessee's Republican majority refused to go along, with one member arguing that taking such a person's guns away might actually send them over the edge.
The logic of that floors me. If you take someone's gun away, you try to, they might panic and shoot you with it. They might go crazy. and shoot you with it. Well, Jesus, you just made the strongest case I can imagine for taking that person's gun away. If they can be convinced to kill another human being because they are allowed only a less destructive firearm, they shouldn't have any firearms at all. Any at all. And by the way, look up there. I'm sure that's some sort of a specialized training, yada, yada, yada. And all those folks with their pudgy hands, I'm sure, have told themselves as well as their friends that they are doing that to be responsible. But to me, that just looks like funsies. Nothing wrong with being a marksman as a hobby. There really isn't. It's just when you're letting kids die so that your hobby can be more robust that I have a problem.
I'm afraid this will cause more escalated violence than less.
House Democratic leader Karen Camper.
They just don't believe it solves the problem. I mean, that's literally what some of them have said.
I have to disagree. That's what they say. Do you really think that these politicians are being honest? If you're from the other side of the aisle, tell me if you do think that's the truth. But come on. We have studied this already. We have data from a time within a couple of decades that this country had more restrictive gun laws. And there was less of this crap. We know it solves the problem. And here's the thing. I'm not going to insult the Republicans so much as to suggest that they don't also know. They're not so dumb that they're unable to understand it. They're not so ignorant at their own jobs that they do not know that restrictions on the kinds of guns you can buy equal directly less death. They know. So if they know, but they're saying it won't make a difference, they are lying. And I choose to I choose to view it that way because otherwise the reality you're suggesting is that they've had the available information pointed out to them and they've simply never looked at it. And that's not better.
Guns, don't kill people. It's people that kill people. It's just been that kind of conversation.
Over and over.
Those opposed, no? No. The noes have it.
The result was the same.
They're not just doing nothing about this problem. They're every day working hard to make it worse, to make guns more prevalent.
Former State Representative Mike Stewart repeatedly tried to pass a law requiring universal background checks to keep firearms out of the hands of convicted felons, people accused of domestic violence, and the mentally ill.
I can equip myself to attack a school using Arms List and other sites on the internet, and with no background check, no restrictions of any kind, no restriction other than having cash in my pocket, I can get everything I need to attack that school.
Year after year.
Opposed, say no. No. Bill fails.
More of the same.
I hate to be a pessimist.
But
it's a really, really tough issue.
And just weeks ago,
this bill is about illegal gun transfer. It's a very simple bill.
Heidi Campbell tried to pass a bill making it a misdemeanor to transfer a gun to a person knowing that person was legally prohibited from possessing a gun.
And obviously, that's pretty simple logic. But nonetheless, it didn't get any debate in committee.
With no debate,
Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Campbell got one Republican vote. The rest,
Chairman, you have 3 ayes and 5 noes.
Voted her bill down.
We just had on the floor, just yesterday, a bill that we passed to make it illegal to give a car to someone who is intoxicated, and yet we are not going to do the same when it comes to firearms.
What does that say about the state of our politics?
You know, I mean, in the final analysis, it says that we're not willing to protect our children.
After Covenant, some Republicans like Lieutenant Governor McNally are hinting they might now be willing to support a red flag law.
There's nothing that you could support, though, to restrict access to guns?
Not constitutionally.
Gun lobbyist John Harris argues that last year's Supreme Court decision known as Bruen means the
it needs to be said every time this comes up. Supreme Court decision is wrong. It's disgustingly wrong. Look, you don't need a law degree to read the Second Amendment. It specifies the context in which Americans may keep and bear arms. Specifies it. Says a well-regulated militia being necessary for the yada, yada, yada. A well-regulated militia. Now, when they said militia, they didn't mean regular jackasses like this guy. They meant, essentially, the state military forces. But let's just assume that's the interpretation you're going with. What part of our current system is well-regulated? A well-regulated militia. If you want a disagreement on gun control between liberals and conservatives, all right, fine. It's what is the militia? There's the debate we can have. I don't think it's an honest debate, but there's a debate we can have. But the well-regulated part, there's no interpretation to be had there. Paying attention to safety. Making that lady up there not have the worst day of her life. That kid up there. Not traumatizing her for the rest of their life. Whoever those two lost. Letting them live. Because we regulate guns. This is fantastic reporting, by the way. Great suggestion.
The Second Amendment is a near absolute prohibition on what some might view as common sense solutions.
If Republicans support a red flag law, will there be consequences at the ballot box from your group?
Oh, absolutely. And probably in the courts as well.
And you'll try to defeat any Republicans who go along with this?
We will.
Remember that face. Because that's a baby killer. That's name calling. I apologize. Any other day of the week, I wouldn't take that back. Take it back now. That is the person who is responsible. That person and their entire industry, literally, the gun lobby, is responsible for our lack of regulation.
We'll look for challengers for anyone that violates Bruen.
Which advocates say means this community can only pray that these deaths in this city will convince lawmakers that doing the same thing over and over again isn't making us safer.
You know, there have been 367 shootings since Columbine, when we said never again. If this is the one time when we're going to make progress, then thank God.
Now, in recent years, there have been bills to fine gun owners who leave firearms in unlocked cars where they're often stolen and used in crimes. Those bills have failed. There was also a bill to simply require gun owners to notify police if a gun was lost or stolen. Failure to do so would have just required the person to take a gun safety class. And even that was voted down.
Phil, you talked with John Harris, the gun lobbyist. He's been a guest many times here, smart guy. He seemed defensive. Did he offer any kind of common sense solutions that he would approve of?
Well, I asked that question specifically, and he suggested giving teenagers more exposure to guns in schools, educating them so they'll know how to safely handle firearms, which is certainly not the kind of solution that these protesters are looking for.
All right. Phil, thanks.
Well, Jesus, that was some fine reporting. Let's have a look at what the Wicked community thought about that piece. Jim Green says, "Evening all, my 2 cents. Nothing is going to change until the electoral, I apologize for butchering your comment, Jim, is abolished. The Electoral College. We got it in only 10 takes." Let's try it again from the top. Jim Green says, "Evening all, my 2 cents. Nothing is going to change until the Electoral College is abolished. Imagine Al Gore for 2 terms, no little Bush, Barack Obama for 8 years, no Trump. End the EC now." Yep. I think the Electoral College has got to go. I agree. Laurent St. Laurent says, "Different ways to legislate on this." Yeah, we are at a point where literally anything we do will be better than where we currently are. Literally anything. There's a whole lot of solutions which are not enough that I will still support vigorously, because we got to start somewhere. We need to, God help me, just curb the children dying every day. We need to just curb how often that happens. And hopefully one day, be like the rest of the civilized world where our children aren't murdered. "It's not name-calling when it's true," says Wicked Foxy Dragon. Maybe, yeah. But in the spirit of things, in the spirit of getting these changes put in place faster, I'm going to bite my tongue for a lot of this. Jim Green, election reform, gun control, immigration, abortion, all would be so different. The world is going green on AL9's green initiatives. Help me out. I don't know what that refers to. The world would be such a better place. Must end the Electoral College. Very much agreed. Lauren St. Laurent says, "I think some states have decided to follow the popular vote. Don't remember the name of the contract or which states agreed to do it. It all starts at the local level." Yeah. Yeah, it does. Dawned on me. Wireless Mike says, "This is why I hate living here." Brother, though, you are responsible. You and voters like you are responsible for the kinds of politicians who just made national news fighting this in Tennessee. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate people in bright red states fighting the good fight. I'm sorry you're stuck there. I'm sorry you're surrounded by madness. But that sanity that you possess will be an anchor that others can build around. Dawned on Me says, "So the only way to keep our children safe is to move to another country." I mean, as of now, yes. Hopefully we'll change that. Patrick Kibido, "Jake, I suggest adding a 4th column for notes, like go to this time for X." Ooh, all right. All right. That is the benefit. I see it. I see it indeed. That's the benefit for what do you call it? Being in the Senate. You get instant payoff. Notes section added, my friend. Specifying that it's optional. All right, we're going to go to that video you just recommended. It's Michael it's Michael Rappaport versus Trump supporting cowards. I love Michael Rappaport, by the way. And we're gonna try doing this in browser. It's always a risky thing, but what the hell? Let's see if we can make it work. Oh, my own notes on that. None. That was fantastic local reporting. I do love talking about the industry, though, so I'll talk about that guy. Anytime you see a silver-haired fox like that who's the chief anything reporter, everybody who is a grunt in the station. The MMJs, which are the younger reporters, basically, are jealous. Everybody's jealous because that guy is the only person in the station usually, unless the anchors deign to do a report, doesn't edit their own stuff, doesn't film their own stuff. They do write their own script, but I just, man, if we could go back to the days when every time there was a story, there was a full team assigned to it instead of one exhausted multimedia journalist, we could have things like that all the time. But hey, that's one of the reasons why WYCD exists. Believe it or not, in your old pal Jake's fantasies, this ends up becoming kind of like an online news station. How would it be different from Midas Touch, for example? Well, we will be focusing on solutions, which means usually getting the stories to you later, not always, but usually, and with more of a what we can now do about it in mind. That is the hope. But in the meantime, it's just you, me, and Mustache, and it's pretty good company, I have to say. All right, loading this up now. Good Lord. Jesus. Well, hopefully that didn't blow your ears out. If you'll excuse me for a moment, I'm going to interact with this in such a way that it doesn't absolutely destroy our poor ears. Okay, jump into 1530. Here we go. All right, so this is from Patrick Thibodeau. The suggestion is for a video. It appears by Michael Rappaport talking to masked Trump supporters. Intriguing. So if you say we don't need any context, I'm just going to start it around the 15:30 mark. Let's do it. That was almost smooth. Almost. All right, we're going to go. All right. Here we go. All right, so far, pretty wild. Hey, I'm just going to jump into the live chat. Can you guys hear that? Oh, sound is off. Good. Good. All right, let me take another whack at this then. Let's see. Let me jump into properties. Trying to be easy on my computer. Control audio via OBS. Oh, there we go.
Get the fuck out. I like it. Yo, my man. Nobody's going anywhere. Don't make the mistake, my man.
All right, we're jumping back. Here's hoping.
It is going to be what it's going to be. Hold on, I'm going to finish this video when I get on the plane. I'm going to get on the plane right now.
Here's the whole video. I'm going to park, check this out, and I'll be right back.
Get the fuck out, Connor. Get the fuck out. Who are you telling to get the fuck out? You, Bunch. Get the fuck out. I like it. Yo, my man. Nobody's going anywhere. Don't make the mistake, my man. Don't make the mistake. Don't make the mistake. Don't make the mistake. What mistake is that? I don't know where the fuck you think you are. Don't make the mistake.
Get the fuck out.
What mistake is that?
You guys are arguing.
Yeah, why?
Okay, let's stop.
I just heard people yelling, and then I got angry.
I don't
know what you did. Piss who off? Hey, aren't you Michael Rappaport? Yeah. Go fuck yourself. Fuck you.
Ha! That was such a good FU. Also, that lady right there. Ooh, Lord. Ooh, let's just take a moment and have sympathy for our sister in the news. That is a news camera. That is probably an MMJ. We were talking about him earlier. She's behind the camera as well as in front of it. It's an incredibly difficult job, and that look on her face tells a story. My God, does it tell a story. And that is that she gets paid $25,000 a year to be surrounded by this madness. Unsung hero, folks.
Shit! Fuck you! Suck a dick, bitch. Take a shower.
Ah!
Take a shower. Take a shower. I'll give you money to shower, Take a shower. For me, typical. You lost that bag.
Excuse me, ma'am. What's your name?
Huh?
We recognize him.
Hey, you want to
He
fuck
hates
me?
Trump too. What?
Get the fuck out. What mistake is that?
So I don't.
What? You know the fuck I am.
Get the fuck out.
I don't really get the context, though. I mean, yeah, it's a sounds like a bunch of I don't know, actually. I don't even know what the yeah, I have no clue. What is the context here? Let's have a look. Yeah, sound was off. M-Rap's kicking some Trumpinista butt, LOL. Yeah, it looks like it. I don't know what they're protesting about. I tell you what, let's play the beginning of the clip. Oh, wait for it. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Mike, they tell him this is New York City. Ain't none of that happening out here. Ain't none of that going down.
We're not in the sticks. We're not in North Carolina. This ain't D.C. This ain't January 6th. None of that shit happening. Right fuck out of here.
And we'll set it off in front of them.
In the whole shit. In the whole shit.
In the whole shit.
The whole shit. That's New York. That's New York. That's New York shit. That's New York shit.
He's famous already?
You know who I am. No, you look
He's famous already.
You know who I am.
No, who are you?
You know who I am. I'm the motherfucker you're talking to.
So what is that?
Jesus.
I'm the motherfucker you're talking to.
Get him out of here.
Or else what? Or else what? Or else what? Or else what?
So awkward.
It's a fantastic day. Yo, you want to walk around the corner with me? You want to walk around the corner with me? You want to walk around the corner with me? Do you want to walk around the corner?
I was gonna say we are approaching, with the tenor of that conversation, we were approaching an impasse which can only be solved by an awkward scuffle in an alley. I'm not surprised Rappaport's going there.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. It's not. Come walk around the corner with me. Yeah, I'm trying to get you to come suck my dick. I'll come around the corner with you. And then I'll fuck you in the ass.
Oh, Jesus.
Support the great.
Guys, look at this fucking.
What's wrong with that? Come around the corner with me. I'll make you suck my dick.
All the cameras here. You can get all
And
the
then I'll
attention.
fuck you in the ass.
Goodbye, monetization.
Anyway, I'm on the plane. I'm going to Addison, Texas. I'm going to keep this brief again. Like I said, this is not as cinematically stimulating as I pride myself on my videos to be. But the point of the matter is that I was not there for confrontation. I am never looking for confrontation. I'm never looking for altercation. I'm never looking for anything. I was just there. I wanted to be a part of the experience. I wanted to see the experience, really. I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to, be at the courthouse and check it out. I came there to lead the peaceful celebration of the arrest of Donald Trump.
Okay.
I don't know if these dudes were Antifa. I don't know. People have said these are Antifa.
What? No.
Who cares? They were dumb. They smelled funny. They were confrontational. And it can only be pushed so much by people that you know are actually pussy. So that's the video. That's my side of the story. That's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And those words sound familiar, right? I wonder did they have to. Anyway, it's early in the morning. I'm on a plane. I'm about to listen to some beautiful jazz music. I got my jazz playlist ready to go. And like I said, if you're in Addison, Texas, come see me the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And
Yeah, well, Michael Rappaport, he'll throw hands. My only conclusion. Yeah, it got wild. Doesn't surprise me. I didn't realize that was outside of the arrest, and it's very disturbing to me that he's like, was that Antifa? What? I don't think it was. Ouch, that's a lot. Okay, I see. A fellow New Yorker talking trash, right on. Oh, Jim Green. Yes, absolutely. That things got wild for sure. Be merciful to my attempts to make a living off this, and if possible, no sweat, not a big deal. I didn't specify this to begin with, but if possible, not quite so much cursing. If we can. But it was worth it to see Michael Rappaport get mad enough to tell a guy he was going to take him around back and make him fillet him. That was too gosh dang funny. All right, we're doing another Thibodeau special here because I genuinely need to talk about this Mehdi Hasan, Matt Taibbi debate. We teased it ahead of time. And I've looked at it since then, and I got to tell you, it's probably going to surprise you where I come down on how I think this went. Because I've heard lefties all over the internet saying like, oh, this is a flawless win for Mehdi Hasan. And I really think the context in which you are looking at it makes all the difference. If you are looking at it in terms of what would a left-wing audience think, then yeah, Mehdi Hasan cleaned up. If you're looking at it in terms of were people in the middle swayed, I don't think he did that good. And I'll tell you why. But that said, the piece of it, it's not news. The exciting theory that is wiggled its way into my brain is that I think that it's possible that Mehdi Hasan has taken a hard look at cable news and a hard look at going independent on the internet. And there's a semi-decent chance here that he's going to be, at the very least, building a place for himself on the internet that he eventually transitions to. The reason I think that is because he made the rounds promoting this interview. 2, he's taken What am I even playing? Sorry, I'm looking at my preview screen and it's all messed up. He's doing the rounds online, promoting this. He's getting in Twitter debates with people that are mostly famous online. And the kinds of arguments he was making were designed, in my opinion, to impress online lefties, basically. The relevance there just being that I think he might be making future plans. And I don't have an opinion on that really one way or another. It's a business decision. But that said, it does affect, theoretically, how you debate. I will go into all of that in a moment, but first, let's have a look at this Matt Taibbi, Mehdi Hasan debate presented to us by Wireless Mike and also by Breaking Points, who did their own analysis of it. By the way, Breaking Points, an interesting choice. I'm going to have a look at them in more detail later. Let's look at the debate. I really need like a Majority Report Brandon, so I can just scream at them when I do something like that. Oh, hey, there we go.
We wanted to take a look at a feud that's brewing between Mehdi Hasan and Matt Taibbi. Ryan, did you get a chance to sort of pick through this?
Yeah, and so my rule for life is always do not debate Mehdi. And that rule remains undefeated. But we can get into some of the nuances of it. So basically, so a couple of weeks ago, Mehdi went after Matt Taibbi saying, look what Elon Musk's Twitter is doing to critics of Modi in India. Why won't you speak out on that? Taibbi responded, why don't you have me on the show and we'll hash this out. So that was a couple weeks ago, so now Taibbi went on Mehdi's show. So let's play a couple clips from.
Before they do, I do just want to say that, right? Okay, first of all, the counterpoints bar at the bottom. Shit, I got to start doing that. That's really good. That's got to help with editing. Thoughts for later. But truly, that is great framing. And I kind of wish, well, Mehdi would have had to have predicted the future. But what I was going to say is I wish Mehdi had opened with that context. But he does bring up the context when it's clear that Matt Taibbi wasn't prepared for it. You know what? Let's just get to it. They did a fine intro. Here we go.
From that exchange.
You said the EIP was founded in response to the government dropping its proposal for a disinformation governance. Well, there you are. We're quoting you on screen. It wasn't. It was formed 2 years earlier. You suggest it was government funded, even though during the 2020 election that you're covering, it wasn't. You say they labeled 22 million tweets as misinformation in the run-up to the 2020 vote. They didn't. They flagged 3,000 election misinformation tweets for labeling, so you were only 21,997,000 off. You also claim the EIP was partnered with the government cybersecurity and infrastructure agency, CISA, to censor Twitter. But you mix up CISA, CISA, a Homeland Security Agency, with the Center for Internet Security, the CIS, which is a non-profit, and it's just error after error, Matt, on just this one topic.
But the other ones aren't.
No,
22 million number came from their own report?
Yeah, it came from a report in March. Do you know what the 22 million number is, Matt? Can you tell me? Because we checked. 22 million is the number of tweets about election misinformation that they just mapped. How many tweets were they? The ones they actually flagged to Twitter before the election, 22 million came after the election. It wasn't in the run-up. They flagged 3,000. So you were off by 21,997,000. That's not
They've said a lot of things. I stand by my story.
You stand by what story? You stand by 22 million were flagged in the run-up to the election, even though that number came in March 2021, which was after the election.
No, this came in their report after the election.
Okay, so Matt responded on Twitter. I think we have some of that we can put up on the screen.
Keeping it to just what aired on television, Matt Taibbi looked foolish there. He looked foolish. I think to anyone who was really paying attention, what I would suggest you keep in mind is that people watch debates at different levels. And if you want to totally win a debate, in my humble opinion, literally, let me just clarify this by saying, 1, it was live. 2, it was, say what you will about Matt Taibbi, he's a pro. It was against a pro. So if you're Mehdi Hasan, kudos. And 3, Mehdi Hasan literally wrote the book on this, and I'm just some guy. But if you want, in my opinion, if you want to fully win the debate, you have to win it on every level that somebody's paying attention. And the way Matt Taibbi handled that, he was kind of, he gave a half concession. And that allows the people who are sort of half listening to say, especially if they came in on the side of Matt Taibbi, that allows them to say, like, it sounds like he's got something. Or it sounds like Mehdi Hasan's just quibbling over a little point. And I know, he said exactly what they were debating over. And I don't think in that particular exchange, Mehdi Hasan could have even necessarily done a better job. But when you look at the entirety of it, Matt Taibbi keeps doing that. And he keeps squirming out just enough that I think most of the people that came in thinking, yay Musk, boo Mehdi Hasan, those that watch Mehdi Hasan's show, anyway, I don't think they were swayed. Let's see what he responds on Twitter now.
Here, but someone told him to take the L, and this is a different quote. He said, part of the job is facing critics, and I went on Mehdi's show today, and basically, I was open to the criticism. I made corrections where they were warranted. He also said, no, I will not take the L. A misplaced acronym and a wrong date don't invalidate the months of important work nearly a dozen journalists, including Michael Schellenberger, Barry Weiss, and myself, put in so that the public could see the breadth of state censorship, of the state censorship program. Reaction to that exchange?
Yeah, the whole thing's kind of disappointing on so many different levels because they don't end up having a conversation about the substance. Like it's people just moving into their camps. They're still kind of fighting about this 22 million. Matt has said, no, my reading of this is that there was 22 that were flagged before the election. The folks who did the report have said, no, that you're misreading it. It was the 22 million we flagged after the election. Mm-hmm. But even if that's true, 3,000 is also a lot.
Yes, it's a lot.
3,000 is a ton.
And flagging 22 million after the election shows you what they want to do in the next election.
Right. So So it would be nice if they would kind of debate the substance. Like, is this how we want various government agencies interacting with social media organizations or not? And to Matt's credit, on the other two pieces where Mehdi caught him with errors, he said, I'm going to correct those errors. Those are errors.
Yes, that is something I was glad to see Matt Taibbi doing. When he was just straight up wrong, he knew how to handle it. You will often see like a politician who is a district representative and it's their first time really hashing this stuff out with a pro get caught in a piece of information that they just flat out had wrong, and you can see the panic wash over them. And the funny thing is, when you're right often, you don't lose your confidence entirely when you're wrong. And if you're acting honestly, you should be you should literally be pursuing facts that run contrary to your beliefs and to the case you're presenting. You should be pursuing those. Because if you're right, you won't find any. But what they're touching on is the way that you deal with what we were talking about at the beginning. When you have somebody conceding half a point or saying, I suppose, but, and then rambling on about a little detail that's technically correct but not the main point. What I would have liked to see during the Mehdi Hasan Matt Taibbi debate is more. I'm not saying he didn't do it at all. He did do it, but more getting away from the detailed facts. As soon as it became clear that Matt Taibbi was going to wriggle, he did wriggle. Getting away from the intricate detail and talking about the broad strokes. An example of how he did it well, and I'm positive they're going to play this clip. If they don't, I will. Was the portion of the debate where Mehdi Hasan talks about the fact that Joe Biden, the candidate, put in requests to have Hunter Biden's, revenge porn taken off the internet. That's something any father around the country is able to do. And Matt Taibbi kept framing that as the government doing X or Y. Well, it wasn't the government. It was a candidate. And Mehdi Hasan did a fantastic job of continually bringing him back and saying, you said that, but it's not that. It was a candidate. And the thing you were talking about was Hunter Biden's news.
But they don't.
We got 6 minutes remaining in this. I'm just going to play most of it, particularly since they have their own interjections to make, and I'd like to hear them uninterrupted. But then we'll talk about what you think and what I thought.
It kind of didn't change the fundamental thrust of the story. The other disappointing thing was that Matt actually hadn't read up on the Modi thing.
I thought that was interesting.
Which was, that was the reason that he said, invite me on the show and I'll talk about it.
Right.
And he had 2 weeks to talk about, to brush up on it. It looked.
I said I wasn't going to interrupt, but I got to. Yeah, that was wild. The instigating incident that he said, bring me on for, that got him brought on for, he didn't do any homework. And then he had the gall. He had the gall to say, well, I haven't looked at that, but I'll look at it and bring me on and I'll talk about it. That's why you're on now. That is the main place, especially since Mehdi Hasan, when he failed to answer, Mehdi Hasan stopped and informed the audience of the context and just slaughtered him with that. So I do think all those that Taibbi lost were probably, like, of his fan base that watched that, were probably from that incident. All right, now I'm not going to interrupt. But that's too juicy not to jump on.
Looked like, and I do this all the time. You go on a show, you're like, oh God, I'm supposed to be on this show in 30 seconds. That's the only way I appear on shows, including this one. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I know ahead of time when I'm supposed to be on this one. But it's like, and Maddie will be like, hey, can you come on and talk about this thing? Yeah, sure. And then I'm always asking the producers, what are we talking about? And it felt that way. It's like, oh, but it's like, because Matt had said, I'll come on the show to talk about this, right? Then at least check into what Musk is doing in India. And it would be so easy to be like, you know what? Yeah, I do. Musk is not my employee. I am not Musk's employee. I disagree with Musk's decision on this particular issue, or I agree with Musk's decision on this particular issue. It's fine. Like, it's not going to hurt him one way or the other. And so, we'll reach out to him and see what his take is when he gets a chance to actually look into the.
And my read on this was a little different in that I think what Matt was trying to do is make a point that I'm not playing this game. That's my assumption of what he was doing, because what Maddie's doing is nitpicking errors. A couple of them were actual errors. I think one of them is definitely more questionable, and Matt was happy to correct them. The breadth of what he's been doing with the Twitter files, I mean, it's a lot of reporting and a lot of writing. So it's, of course there are mistakes in there. As much as he may try to mitigate them, and I'm sure he does, nobody wants to be corrected, knowing the whole world is out there, and every, established center of power is out there looking to discredit you. So, I mean, it's in his own interest to mitigate the errors.
I disagree with both of them. They're just giving him a pass on that. It was the inciting incident. There's no excuse to not be prepared for that. You're on a stage that you know is being watched by millions of people. That means every minute you are taking up airtime. There are millions of American minutes being spent watching you. You have an obligation, if you say to somebody who runs a show like that, and I'm not sympathetic to those networks in most cases, but if you're saying to somebody whose show commands the attention of Americans for millions of minutes every night, you have an obligation to prepare and do the thing that you said you would do. And as far as Mehdi nitpicking, yeah, okay, obviously I agree with that. But in this case, surrounding the Modi thing, I don't think that's something you give him a pass with.
That said, Mehdi is nitpicking instead of really dealing with the central question of state censorship. To your point. And yeah, I see what you're saying there. Like, why are we debating 3,000, 22 million, the date? It's definitely worth a correction. But why are we getting hung up on yelling at each other over that when Matt has exposed, rightfully, is this huge operation to censor and target heterodox American thought? That's a... Okay, so I'm not going to swear how I'm going to do these things from now on. It's going to make me a liar every time. I was with her up until the conclusion. What he exposed was not that. What he exposed is that, these companies bend over backwards for powerful people. What he did not expose is a conspiracy to get Trump, or a Twitter that was politically leaning. And this is the problem. The debate never really, and I watched the whole dang thing that Mehdi posted on YouTube. It never really got to the meat and potatoes. And for the reasons she's saying it didn't, because they got hung up on these details and they were quibbling over these things. But you go back, you go forth, and if it goes back again, people glaze over. And they say, all right, we're going to wait till we get past this, and I'll listen to when they're being productive again. That is what happened. And I don't think that Matt Taibbi deserves the praise she's giving here, because what he exposed, frankly, was not... I don't want to say it's terribly shocking, but the conclusions drawn by the people that are excited about this are wrong conclusions. And I think that's the main thing to address. These people saying like, oh, look, under the last guy, Twitter was a Biden propaganda machine. Now it's free speech, and lefties aren't allowed to say anything. All right. Real problem. And the way I read him was, I'm not getting into this. I don't know, maybe this is a charitable read on the situation, but I'm not getting into this because I'm not going to play the game where you deflect from this much larger question. Even if that wasn't his intention, I think that was the most disappointing part of this, is the deflection from the larger question. I don't think there's a journalistic high ground or a moral high ground in deflecting on that point. I wish Matt had an answer to the Modi question, and maybe he will. I'm sure you'll check in with him on that. But this is the bigger question here is obvious.
Right, and it gives the kind of anti-Musk and anti-Twitter files, although I'm kind of like pro-Twitter files and anti-Musk, something that weird kind of, there's no overlap other than me in that category. But it gives people who want to dismiss it, now they're going to say, oh, that was debunked by Mehdi.
Yes. Taibbi's reporting was picked apart.
But Mehdi would say, no, I didn't debunk the entire thing. What I did is I identified some errors, brought them to his attention, and he has agreed to correct those errors. But he's not going to say that the entire thing was, as a result, debunked. But the viewers are going to take that away.
Right.
The viewer, you'll watch Matt mentions and replies on Twitter over the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
It'll just be people throwing, like the Mehdi interview at him saying, is the whole whole Twitter file thing is completely discredited now, which is just a way for people to not kind of grapple with these issues and instead do the easier thing, which is retreat into tribes.
Yeah, I agree. And my big takeaway from it, honestly, was how hard it is to have good faith conversations in the cable format. It's interesting because you're looking at the screen and you see Matt with his podcast mic because he's got his SM7B, and you see Mehdi in the Tony MSNBC studio. And it's just like such a perfect juxtaposition of Matt, who I think is more used to these days the podcast format, because MSNBC, as he explained on his Substack last night, stopped having him after he threw some cold water on like Malcolm Nance's weird rantings and ravings about Russia collusion. But it's just really hard to have a good faith exchange and not retreat into camps and to really get to the substance. It's very difficult to do that in a cable news setting. And I think that's why people, especially younger people, are pulling away from it.
Yeah, right. There's so much more time to breathe and to think.
Right.
Although I wonder if Matt had strategically gone in and been like, look, you're right, I'm with you on Modi, if that would have opened up space for that conversation to breathe more.
It's interesting.
But maybe not. Like, Mehdi is a knife fighter. He's like, I interviewed him for my podcast a couple weeks ago about his like career in debating. He's just an absolutely extraordinary debater. Even if he's wrong, like I've said, I wouldn't debate him about whether the world is round.
It's too dangerous.
Yeah, forget it. I'd come out and be like, maybe it's flat. I don't know.
It's hard to say. Who can say?
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now.
Oh, mercy me. Great. Oh, let's get this fixed, and then we'll talk about this. All right, so let's see what the Wicked audience has to say about that piece. First up. Dawned on Me says, Trump did oversight for Twitter. PAB. Yes, indeed. Lauren St. Laurent says, in quotes, nobody likes to be corrected. Then out of quotes, indeed, that's why people check their work before publishing. Yeah, I saw a Majority Report talking about this and stressing that what Matt Taibbi is in desperate need of these days, and I agree, is an editor. There's some folks who work well without an editor. Truly, there are people that don't really need one because they're meticulous and they're a bunch of different polite words to say slow. But that's fine because the end result is always something with these people that is just, there's not even a misspelled word, much less a fact or figure that's incorrect. But other people really do need an editor, and there's a reason that job exists. And Matt Taibbi has always, in my humble opinion, been someone who requires a good editor. Otherwise, you get CISA, etc. Overall, my thoughts on the and let me know in the comments if you want to watch the Taibbi, the Hassan Taibbi debate in like unabridged or even on another stream. Let me know and we'll mull it over. But my thoughts on the debate, especially as presented by Counterpoints, it sucks when I find myself agreeing with the right-winger a lot. But I do. I think she addressed what I was worried about, which is the right-leaning audience being more concerned with the broader picture. And I think what Mehdi Hasan was trying to do is point out the factual inaccuracies and the glossing over of rather important details that makes the Twitter files juicy. The things that people get excited about over the Twitter files largely are implied through those inaccuracies or those exaggerations or those hints that you only find out arrive at a much less exciting fact when you look closely. But at a glance, they look like they're saying something else. And I think for those of us who are willing to look at the details, whether it's because we want to believe Mehdi Hasan nailed it, or because we genuinely care about all the nitty-gritty details, we will see that as a clear W for Mehdi Hasan. But I got to tell you, the crowd that needs swaying from the perspective of somebody who is pretty much on Mehdi Hasan's side here, for lack of a better term, the crowd that needs swaying wouldn't have been swayed by that. Because I feel like, I mean, it wasn't a win for Matt Taibbi, but I feel like he managed to rope-a-dope for the full 12 rounds and get it, at the very least, put to a decision rather than have it be a knockout. I think that is a flaw in the cable news media format. However, the cable news media audience is who needs to be reached by this the most. So it's a real difficult situation. And I think overall, given the difficulties that are going to come with interviewing somebody in a finite amount of time, where you can't just arbitrarily choose to extend the deadline or extend the interview, and Matt Taibbi's dodging of uncomfortable moments, I think given all that, that's a win for Mehdi Hasan overall. And I think more people will have been swayed to his way of thinking, which is ultimately going to be a good thing, because the impression that I've seen that people on the right wing got from the Twitter files is just, it's not accurate. And I do, believe it or not, I do agree with the broader point that Matt Taibbi keeps coming back to, where he's like, well, look, this is still, no matter how you slice it, this is still people involved with the government getting different treatment than regular folks. And yes, it is. But the danger that I see time and time again with right-wing political beliefs is that they start with something true, they add in something not true or misleading or whatever, and where you end up is something that not only doesn't deal with that true thing, but makes it worse. We have Elon Musk running Twitter at the moment. Not going to get better because Musk is in charge, folks. Just not. Why did this excite me, though? Why did this excite me with Mehdi Hasan and the crowds he was reaching out to for this? I don't think Mehdi Hasan took this interview or scheduled this interview for very short-term reasons. I don't think he did it to get big ratings on that night. Honest to God, that to me had all the hallmarks of somebody trying to introduce himself to a, if not younger, let's say a hipper audience. That was, I mean, I do think Mehdi Hasan genuinely aligns more with the, let's say, online left than the network left. He's more of a Sam Seder than he is a Lawrence O'Donnell. And I would expect, if he's going to keep trying to build this portfolio, I would expect him to have more people like Taibbi on his show. I think he might have more people like Sam Seder on his show. I think he is going to try to make inroads with the online left. And I guess what I'm saying is my schedule's just wide open. So I'll do it for peanuts. I'll do it for, well, I mean, I'm going to need a little, let me wet my beak, but still. Oh, well. Wireless Mike says, it's the difference between chess and professional wrestling. Yes, indeed. Mars Falcon, are you claiming the USA government gets treatment different than the peasants? Crazy talk. Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? A wild theory. Lawrence St. Laurent says, so, should all these disinfo or misinfo bots have been left unchecked? No. No. I should be clear. I'm not really criticizing what Mehdi Hasan, literally any of what Mehdi Hasan did. Given all the, the details of the situation, including the fact that he's got a finite amount of time in which to have a debate on a huge issue, given the fact that Matt Taibbi is a very, very skilled presenter, I think he nailed it. I just don't want people to take away from that debate more than it was. I don't want people thinking, oh, well, that's it for Matt Taibbi. He's done. I'm just trying to explain, as I see them, the reasons why that debate won't affect the broad public. It'll affect some people. Yeah, some people that thought, Taibbi can do no wrong. He knows everything about everything. They saw that and it's like, Taibbi can't even be bothered to do his homework before a debate. I mean, it was a hell of a good job by Mehdi Hasan, absolutely. But was it the nail in the coffin for the Dark Jedi Matt Taibbi? No. Mars Falcon nailed the sarcasm, brother. Nicely done. My pleasure. All right, let's have a gamble. Let me. Oh, there's some of these that I see that I'm like desperate to do, but it immediately makes me think like, oh, this is better for a full what you can do. We can actually do stuff about this. This is a marathon. Y'all, I'm seeing some real interesting. I should probably delete the ones we've done already, so I don't keep rereading them. But yes, there's some very interesting things on here. Before we get to that, I just realized I do really want to cover this. This, I think, is incredibly important, and if there is even a chance we can get some right-wingers responding, though, I would like to talk about this with folks that are supporters of Donald Trump. This is an article by CNN, and it deals with national security officials who apparently say that Trump was repeatedly warned that he did not have the authority to seize voting machines. If you don't have any historical context for why seizing voting machines is a big damn deal, I shall tell you right now. That would be because that is what dictators do. That's what people who were not legitimately elected do to cover their tracks. They snatch up the voting machines. Then when nobody's looking, they say, oh, yeah, we found all kinds of problems. See, all these Joe Biden votes that I'm holding up, yes, they're written in Sharpie Y. Let's have a look. Exclusive. National security officials tell special counsel Trump was repeatedly warned he did not have the authority to seize voting machines. Reporting from Washington, CNN says former top national security officials have told prosecutors and testified to a federal grand jury that they repeatedly told former President Donald Trump and his allies that the government didn't have the authority to seize voting machines after the 2020 election. CNN has learned. That is one sentence, one single sentence that tells you a whole lot. First of all, this was testified to in front of a federal grand jury. That means prosecutors believe there is a crime here. What crime they are discussing, who knows? Not allowed to say. But it ain't good when the discussion involves seizing voting machines. What else did we learn? Trump and others. Trump and others. That is this, where is it? There we go. That's a big deal. Those are all people that then could flip on Trump. Let's keep it going. Ken Cuccinelli, the former second in command at the Department of Homeland Security, was asked about discussions inside the administration around DHS. Could flip, by which I mean did flip if they're testifying. Ken Cuccinelli, the former second in command at the Department of Homeland Security, was asked about discussions inside the administration around DHS seizing voting machines when he appeared before the grand jury earlier this year, according to 3 people familiar with proceedings. Cuccinelli testified that he made clear at all times that the Department of Homeland Security did not have the authority to take such a step, one of the sources said. Also worth noting, DHS is a relatively new organization. It's less than 20 years old. So somebody with aspirations to be a dictator might see it as something that could be used in such a way. Cuccinelli's former boss at DHS, ex-acting Secretary Chad Wolf, oh right, the era of the acting fellas, met with justice prosecutors and FBI officials earlier this year after receiving a grand jury subpoena from special counsel Jack Smith's team, according to Wolf's lawyer, John Cole. Wolf told prosecutors that after the 2020 election, he was asked by White House officials if DHS had legal authority to seize voting machines, and each time he said no, Cole told CNN. All right, so not only did that corrupt ass idea enter Donald Trump's head, he had to be told multiple times that he could not seize voting machines. How hard he asked may result in additional charges. Remember, we've been saying for a while, there were 56 crimes that Trump was thought to have committed. These are only the things we know about publicly. I fully expect that there will be people whose whole career in the near future is going to be around studying all of the crimes the Trump administration did in just 4 years. Because we are going to need to unwrap that with the speed at which our legal system works. We're going to need to unwrap that over such a long amount of time that it's going to take a career's length of time. So we're going to have people that are just specialists in Trump administration crimes. Or so I believe. Details about the secret grand jury testimony and closed-door interviews, neither of which have been previously reported, illustrate how special counsel Smith and his prosecutors are looking at the various ways Trump tried to overturn his electoral loss, despite some of his top officials advising him against the ideas. Now, some of those same officials, including Wolf, Cuccinelli, and O'Brien, as well as others who have so far refused to testify, may have to return to the grand jury in Washington, D.C. to provide additional testimony after a series of pivotal court rulings that were revealed in recent weeks rejected Trump's claims of executive privilege. It is an embarrassment that it took this long to get those court rulings. And I am glad to see that the courts are speeding things up. Although that said, the reason they're speeding things up is most likely because prosecutors have found that these crimes were more dire than we originally thought. I'm particularly worried about the documents that are unaccounted for. Without that privilege shield, former officials must answer questions about their interactions and conversations with the former president, including what he was told about the lack of evidence for election fraud and the legal remedies he could pursue. That line of questioning goes to the heart of Smith's challenge in any criminal case he might bring to prove that Trump and his allies pursued their efforts despite knowing their fraud claims were false or their gambits were not lawful. To bring any potential criminal charges, prosecutors would have to overcome Trump's public claim that he believed then and now that fraud really did cost him the election. One thing that's important to note, you don't need to prove. The way this is phrased, I feel, is misleading. You don't need to prove that Trump, in his heart of hearts, believed something. You need to prove that a reasonable person, given the information Trump was given, wouldn't believe what Trump says he believes, which I think is going to be very easy to do. A lot of hay is made over that, but I think you're going to have experts who told Trump that this stuff was illegal, going on the stand, saying what their expertise is, which will be impressive, and then saying, yeah, I told him this ain't legal. And then he did it anyway. There's lots of ways you can show that, in quotes, but certainly one of them is that they were told by people who knew what they were talking about, the experts, that there was no basis to take the actions, said Andrew Noty, an election law attorney who previously served in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C., and at the Federal Elections Commission's General Counsel's Office. I would not want to be a defense lawyer trying to argue, well, yes, my client was told that, but he never really believed it, Noty said. Drafting executive orders inside the Trump White House after the 2020 election, the push to seize voting machines eventually led, oh my God, to executive orders being drafted in mid-December of that year directing the military and Department of Homeland Security to carry out the task despite Wolf and Cuccinelli telling Trump and his allies their agency did not have authority to do so, and that is a crime. What we have just read, if that reporting is true, that is a crime. That would be the only crime you need to prove to ensure that Trump is put in a federal prison. And according to this reporting, they have the experts that told Trump this, and if they have a copy of the executive order being drafted, wait a minute. Drafted, was it sent, was it signed, directing the military and Department of Homeland Security to carry out the task despite, okay, I withdraw that. Inside the Trump White House, the push to seize voting machines eventually led to, okay, so they were not issued, I suppose. Those orders, which cited debunked claims about voting machine, still effed up, voting system irregularities in Michigan and Georgia, were presented to Trump by his former national security advisor Michael Flynn and then lawyer Sidney Powell during a now infamous Oval Office meeting in December 18. Smith's team has asked witnesses about the meeting in front of the grand jury and during closed-door interviews, multiple sources told CNN. Ooh, boy, okay. Among them was O'Brien, who told the January 6 House Select Committee that he was patched into the December 18 meeting by phone after it had already devolved into a screaming match between Flynn, Powell, and White House lawyers, according to a transcript of O'Brien's deposition that was released by the panel. O'Brien told the committee that at some point someone asked him if there was evidence of election fraud and foreign interference in the voting machines. And I said, no, we've looked into that, and there's no evidence of it, O'Brien said. He responded, I was told we didn't have any evidence of any voter machine fraud in the 2020 election. I don't know how many times Trump needs to hear it. Infinite, apparently. When asked about the meeting by federal prosecutors working for Smith, or, just once or twice, but with a lawman threatening to arrest, O'Brien reiterated that he made clear there was no evidence of foreign interference affecting voting machines, according to the source familiar with the matter. O'Brien met with the prosecutors earlier this year after receiving a subpoena from Smith's team and is among the Trump officials who could be called back to discuss conversations with Trump under the judge's recent decision on executive privilege. Former Director of National Intelligence, I was going to scroll down, but this is good, John Ratcliffe, who personally told allies of the former president that there was no evidence of foreign election interference or widespread fraud that would justify taking extreme steps like seizing voting machines, must also testify, the judge decided. A spokesperson for Ratcliffe did not respond to CNN's request for comment. Wolf declined to comment. Ooh. We only have 4 more paragraphs. We're going to rock through this so we have the full context. Giuliani, who was subpoenaed... Cuccinelli acknowledged the January 6th committee last year... Cuccinelli acknowledged to the January 6th committee last year that after the election, he was asked several times by Trump's then attorney, Rudy Giuliani, and on at least one occasion by Trump himself, if DHS had authority to seize voting machines. So now we have Trump being told personally. Wolf told the committee he was repeatedly asked the same question by then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. In that paragraph, you have got 3 people who are likely going to prison. Meadows, Giuliani, Trump. Unless Giuliani and Meadows both get a deal for immunity in exchange for testifying. Giuliani, who was subpoenaed by the Justice Department before Smith took over the investigation, previously acknowledged to the January 6th committee that he participated in the December 18 Oval Office meeting and other conversations about having DHS and the military seize voting machines. Giuliani told congressional investigators that he and his team tried many different ways to see if we could get the machines seized, including options involving DHS, according to the transcript of his committee interview. That makes more sense. Giuliani also acknowledged taking part in conversations even before the December 18 Oval Office meeting where the idea of using the military to seize voting machines was raised. I can remember the issue of the military coming up much earlier and constantly saying, will you forget about it, please? Just shut up. You want to go to jail? Just shut up. We're not using the military. He added, this is good advice. Robert Costello, an attorney for Giuliani, told CNN that Giuliani has not received a subpoena from Smith. Interesting. Costello said that in early November, Giuliani was subpoenaed by the D.C. U.S. Attorney seeking documents and testimony. Costello says he told the Justice Department Giuliani couldn't comply with the given deadlines because they were in the middle of disciplinary proceedings at the time. That was the last time Giuliani heard from the DOJ, says Costello. I haven't heard a word since November 2022, Costello told CNN on March 30. I think Giuliani is very much, I think Giuliani is very much, he's got to be expecting to be charged at this point. Right-wingers, you're out there. Come on. What do you think of this? Donald Trump was told he didn't have the authority to seize these voting machines. He had to be told multiple times. Now, do you think that he truly didn't get the message that he didn't have that authority? Or do you think that he was looking for someone who just wouldn't say no? Either way, how can you support him? Did you know that? Did you know that he tried to seize voting machines? Do you care? If not, let me throw this at you. Imagine you get out the vote in 2024 and you get Donald Trump elected. And Joe Biden makes a big stink about it, refuses to concede, and then after Joe Biden leaves office, you find out he made several attempts to try to seize voting machines that had your vote and just toss out the election. What would you want done? I'll tell you what I would like done with Trump. And the good news is, apparently the government read my diary because it's happening. I would like this hashed out in a court of law so that we can find out whether the guy actually did this or not. And if he did do it, then I would like the law applied to him. That's all I'm asking for. And it's shocking to me that all Americans aren't jazzed about the idea of a former president being held accountable. Because whether you're a Trump person or not, there seems to be agreement that these punks never have to face the music. Ever. And they get to live with more privileges than we have. And the thing is, it's got to be your guy or my guy. It's got to be one of our guys first. So even if you're a Trump supporter, sucks that you drew the short straw, but you elected him. And either way, we should both be celebrating the fact that these people were taken down a peg. If and when the time comes for Biden, by the way, I'm all for it. Because if Biden really didn't do anything wrong, then he can face a trial like the rest of us and prove it. Trump is no different. Patrick Thibodeau says, it's simple. Trump will never accept blame, admit a mistake in judgment, apologize, or otherwise exhibit any real humanity. I truly believe he thinks he looks like a 35-year-old Robert Redford. I have had, I kid you not, that exact same thought. Like I've thought the guy, what Trump thinks he looks like specifically is probably Robert Redford. That wispy haircut seems like an old man's attempt to draw out another famous blonde, to evoke another, I think is the word. Let's see here. Lawrence St. Laurent says, fascism is imperialism coming home to roost, I once read. Got the good quotes. Yes. Yes, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, I mean, Mars Falcon says, Lawrence St. Laurent. Lawrence St. Laurent. More specifically, I have read that it is natural for authoritarians to use colonial control of foreign nation tactics at home. Militarizing the police is a solid step. Mars Falcon says, Sundance Kid is a national treasure. You keep thinking, Butch. That's what you're good at. That's such a good movie. That's such a good movie. I am delighted that other people have watched it. And by the way, no, look, it's a 30-plus-year-old movie, so if it's spoilers, it's your own fault. At the end, I choose to believe that they make it. I realize how nonsensical that sounds, but I just can't imagine Robert Redford and who's the other handsome Joe who's in The Sting with him too. He was in Cool Hand Luke. How can I not think of the guy? One of the most famous actors ever. Anyway, that those two ever lose in a cowboy gunfight. No way. All right, let us look at some of the other videos here. We do one more. Seriously, if you can remember the actor, it's do tell. Got a lot of Bowman. A lot of Jamal Bowman. More good stuff from Bowman. Chasing Madge's ass. Interesting. Ooh. All right, so this is from 3 days ago. We got we got NBC. We got Bowman versus Green. I'm down for that. Check this out. I'm not doing the playing it off the internet thing. I'm downloading this thing first. Wireless mics. Paul Newman. Jim Green. Thank you. Paul Newman. That would have genuinely broke my heart if I didn't say that on air. Franny P, good to see you. Yeah, we somehow got talking about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's good. And Wireless Mike says, don't spoil it for me, Jake. Well, I'm sorry. I pooched that already. All right. We are going to look at Oofa doofa. This video when it downloads. Jamal Bowman shouting after Marjorie Taylor Greene's car. I'm just going to play the whole thing for you because it is only 2 minutes. And for the ease of me, I'm going to pause it at the screen for a moment. So we haven't frozen up. I'm just loading the video in a manner that is easier for me to do. Yep, still here. Just loading this thing. Oh, Christ, did we not do... Oh, there's the... All right, we're doing one more after this, folks. You're getting an extra long Friday Peace Talks. This thing is going to be... the VOD is going to be loading into the wee hours of the morning.
So fresh...
All right. Just garbage. Oh, we're just playing.
Of her national CBS interview, Marjorie Taylor Greene has decided to leverage the attention into an attack on Joe Biden. She posted a tweet with the caption, "I'll say it again, Democrats are the party of pedophiles," and included a video purporting to show Joe Biden preying on children. I obviously...
That's not even the thing. Oh, folks, I'm sorry. Let's take another whack at this. That's a good one, though. Here we go. Jamal Bowman. Sometimes just gotta
crime should be
go.
held accountable. Congressman.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Sorry.
Nick, you know it's
Now let's talk about the truth. Now let's talk about the truth. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Now let's talk about the truth. Get her out of here.
Congressman. What inspired that today?
Jamal Bowman.
What inspired that today,
I was
Congressman?
born and raised in New York City. This is the city that I love. It's a city focused on hard work and love for all people. We will never accept hateful rhetoric in our city. Any rhetoric that is divisive, any rhetoric that uplifts white supremacy, we are pushing back against that in all its forms. Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to take her ass back to Washington and do something about gun violence, do something about affordable housing, do something about childhood poverty, do something about climate change. Do your freaking job, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You don't need to be in New York City talking that nonsense. Go back to your district. You're not, what are you doing here? You're here for politics. You're here because you want to be VP. You're here for your own fundraising. You're here for your own nonsense. New York City stood up to Marjorie Taylor Greene to get today to let her know, get the hell out of here. Don't open one word in our freaking city.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. Franny P, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, Jamal Bowman is just, he's a man after my own heart. I wholeheartedly stand behind his fervor and his treatment of Republicans, Republican politicians. They deserve it. In my opinion, that is what they deserve. They deserve to be chased after and embarrassed and yelled at by other politicians and the public as well. I think if you see someone and you know them to be a Republican politician, you should chew them out. That's what the freedom of speech is primarily supposed to be for. That's why it is there. You should express yourself. You shouldn't say wild. You shouldn't say wild stuff you don't mean, and you certainly shouldn't say wild stuff that are threatening that you do mean, because you shouldn't mean it, because violence is not how we do stuff. But calling someone scum, calling someone lazy, calling someone corrupt, it's fine if it's true. And that is, in my opinion, what Republican politicians are. What they are. The facts are crystal clear. We know there will be less children dead if we regulate firearms. The Constitution has its vagaries, but it is not vague on whether or not arms should be well regulated. Republicans are the ones who are responsible for the deaths of children, Republican politicians. And now that we know this, and in fact, I'll tell you, this is going to be something you're going to have to come to terms with if you are a Republican voter. If you voted for Republicans within the last decade, you have been voting for the deaths of these children. Because you should have known. Because it's been obvious. Who keeps doing this? It's not Democrats. Not as a party. There are individual Democrats, yes, that are shameful. But as a party, no, it's not Democrats that are causing this. One party causing this. So Jamal Bowman has absolutely earned a gold star from this program. I think he's right. And I really want to trash Marjorie Taylor Greene just a little bit more. Look, it's midnight somewhere. One might even say it's Saturday somewhere. I don't see any MAGA folks in the audience, so might get a little salty on this one. Lauren St. Laurent says, does MTG even live in her own district? I remember reading about that. Yeah, I would not put any unethical thing past her. Mars Falcon says, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a geometrically perfect orb. She has absolutely no point. Ah! LOL, you ain't in Georgia anymore. Yeah, that's something else. Actually brings us back. Wireless Mike says, Wicked Foxy Dragon says, absolutely. And Wireless Mike says, MTG has a smile of a serial killer. That is, I do agree with that assessment, just on an aesthetic basis. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene lives in a zone that is relevant to the Taibbi discussion we talked about earlier. I think Matt Taibbi was a little bit caught off guard by the difficulty of the discussion with Mehdi Hasan. I honestly think he gets so used to these sort of prearranged softball style discussions with people that have a clear agenda, and they've invited him on because he aligns with that agenda, that he was shocked to see that the rest of the world exists, and that the caricatures of people are based off of actual factions that will disagree with him. Similarly, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene looks surprised. And this is, again, we're talking about aesthetics. It's not really, just more casual. This is a more casual stream. But she looks surprised when she sees this reaction to her. And I do wonder how much, I mean, I think to some degree it's got to be genuine, right? I don't know. Maybe she really is, or maybe she isn't really shocked by the fact that the policies she pushed and the rhetoric she uses has garnered so much hate. But she looks very surprised that old line about a silent majority wasn't actually true. Or at least it wasn't true for her party. I think the reality was, like everything, you know, Republicans used to say, oh, we're the silent majority. But like everything, it turns out that was just projection too. And the silent majority were just lazy, left-leaning people. That was it. All right. Brian Tyler Cohen gives us a little bit of background on that scene we saw there. This is a video called Marjorie Taylor Greene's Stunt Backfires, and I believe it was about her appearance on the day of Trump's arraignment. Let's have a look.
So fresh off of her national CBS interview, Marjorie Taylor Greene has decided to leverage the attention into
Oh God, never mind. It was after that interview. Okay.
To an attack on Joe Biden. She posted a tweet with the caption, I'll say it again, Democrats are the party of pedophiles, and included a video purporting to show Joe Biden preying on children. I obviously won't show the video, but as of this recording, that video has below 800,000 views. It turns out that video that Marjorie Taylor Greene posted was deceptively edited, I know, shocking, and that this right here is the original video.
Oh my God, all right.
Hey, what's your name?
Oh, this is my son, Braden.
Hey, Braden, how are you, man?
We're here because he stutters and we wanted to hear you speak.
Oh, man, come on. I tell you what, don't let it define you. You are smart as hell. Now, you really are. You can do that. Can I get a phone number for you and I can tell you what I used to do and how I would do it? Can you take his phone? Because there's about 25 stutterers I continue to work with. And I can tell you the things that help me. I know, by the way, the hardest thing is talking on the telephone, so I don't expect you to be able to. But when I stuttered, I used to talk like this, and it took a lot of practice. But I promise you, you can do it. I promise you. And
he's got DGE. I was going to say dang good, but that's double G. Anyway, he's got grandpa energy. Damn fine grandpa energy. That is amongst the sweetest things I've ever seen. Hard for me to remember that I don't really like Joe Biden when I see stuff like that. But let's see. I do not like how deceptive the video titling is around the internet. This is not any one political side. It's all just people existing in a capitalist system, desperately trying to get views and saying things in their titles that ain't necessarily what's in the video. So let's see if this really did backfire. And by backfire, I mean people from Marjorie Taylor Greene's audience are seeing this unedited video of Joe Biden and reacting to it. Let's see if that is correct.
don't let it define you. You're handsome. You're smart. You're a good guy. I really mean it. Don't let it define you. And you know when I say I know about bullies, you know about bullies. The kids who make fun, it's going to change, honey. I promise you.
And that video, as part of my fact check on Twitter, already surged past 1 million views and will soon have double the number of views that Greene's manipulated video has. Meaning that in her desperation to portray Biden as a predator, all she did was draw attention to one of the most caring moments in Biden's presidency. That video wouldn't have gotten viewed at all had it not been for Greene's desperation to portray him as something that he's not. Which, by the way, is not to say that her posting that video is a good thing, because by no means is that a good thing. There will be a lot of people who never see the fact check at all, and they walk away from this whole thing thinking, again, mistakenly, that Biden is something that he's not. And at the end of the day, that is the point of right-wing media, to traffic in disinformation. They don't care if they get caught lying, because the point isn't the truth, the point is the narrative. It is manipulating their own audience. And they're largely successful at doing it because they know that having sowed enough distrust in mainstream media, their supporters aren't turning to other news outlets. And
so it didn't backfire. I mean, he posted a video of the same event. It got more clicks, but who did the clicks come from? It didn't backfire. It's not an accurate way to put it.
So Republicans can pepper their supporters with all the lies that they want, knowing full well that the truth will never reach the people who need to hear it most.
See, that's why I was excited for that video to backfire. But clearly it did not. So, all right, let's see what you're talking about, Brian. You got 2 more minutes to sell me on this, or I'm ending your video early, and it breaks my heart because I like me some Brian Tyler Cohen. You got to earn it. These are peace talks.
And as far as the mainstream media goes, they don't always do themselves any favors either. Here's a clip from the interview that I referenced before, where CBS's Leslie Stahl sat down with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
The Democrats are a party of pedophiles.
I would definitely say so. They support grooming children.
They are not pedophiles. Why would you say that?
Democrats support, even Joe Biden, the president himself, supports children being sexualized and having transgender surgeries. Sexualizing children is what pedophiles do to children.
Wow.
Yeah, that was an embarrassingly bad job. I was not against Leslie Stahl having Marjorie Taylor Greene on, but not if you're just going to say, wow.
Okay, but...
Nope. You have to pause it and address that. She didn't. It was terrible.
My question really is, can't you fight for what you believe in without all that name-calling and without the personal attacks?
Well, I would ask the same question to the other side, because all they've done is call me.
Right now is why she should have stuck with that. Because she let her get away with that utter lie. Just a lie. Straight up lie. And now, because she was allowed to get away with that lie, he's going to say, but the other side does it too. And the whataboutism continues. This was just an embarrassment. I realize this started as a Brian Tyler Cohen thing, but now it's a Leslie Stahl thing. Leslie Stahl, miserable job. You should feel ashamed.
Me names and insult me nonstop since I've been here, Leslie.
They've called her accurate names, and the insults have been statements of what she is all about. God, I really want to have an MTG supporter join this stream. I'm going to start making calls to right-wing YouTubers just because we got to talk about this stuff.
They call me racist. They call me anti-Semitic, which is not true. I'm not calling any...
She very much is. I'm sorry. Look, if you're spreading conspiracy theories about the Jews, you're anti-Semitic. It's not name-calling. There's a rule to say no name-calling. It's not name-calling to say she is racist. It's not name-calling to say she is anti-Semitic. That is an accurate description of her beliefs. She will then describe her beliefs and say they are not those things, but that doesn't change whether or not her beliefs are those things. Just like if somebody wasn't racist or wasn't anti-Semitic and somebody called them those things, it's no different that like those wouldn't make them racist and anti-Semitic. Saying you're not racist and anti-Semitic when you clearly are it doesn't wash your hands of the actions.
When names, I'm calling out the truth, basically.
Pedophile?
Pedophile, call it what it is. Anyone.
And look, I'm not here to beat up on Leslie Stahl, but wow, okay is simply not an adequate refutation for someone who just claimed, with zero evidence, that the Democrats are the party of pedophiles on national television. If you're not prepared to hold her feet to the fire for her lies, then don't give her a platform from which those lies could be spewed. The fact is that these Republicans, like Green, know how easy it is to game the refs in this country. They know that the media will tiptoe around any potential fact checks because if they're too hard on Republicans, then they'll be labeled the liberal media. And as we all know, nothing could possibly be worse. And so they'll overcompensate by constantly giving lying Republicans the benefit of the doubt despite them not deserving it. And even still, even with that special treatment, still Republicans call the same media fake news. In other words, Republicans get all this deference by the mainstream press, only to then turn around and shit on them anyway. You would think that the media would learn by the millionth time that that's what happens. You would think. And finally, just to address a concern here, I want to very quickly touch on the issue of platforming someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she very clearly wants the attention, and yet here I am giving her exactly what she wants in the attention. And I apologize if you've heard me say this before, but I think that it's a point worth repeating here. I've spent a good deal of time thinking about the cost-benefit of giving someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene a platform. But it comes down to this. This is a woman who has 29% support in this country. You would be hard-pressed to find a less popular politician in the United States. If that is who Republicans have decided to make the face of their party, then far be it from me to help them by hiding her. If they want to empower her and put her on committees and trot her out to high-profile events.
Yeah, I get it. In the end, I agree with the points he was making there. I don't think that stunt of Marjorie Taylor Greene's backfired, but I think he did a good job. And as for the Leslie Stahl interview, it was an embarrassment because Leslie Stahl, frankly, almost, not none, but almost no one from legacy media, from the bad old days of both sidesism, has the skill set to do a serious interview. If you want to do an interview with Martha Stewart about how she's handling business these days, fine, send Leslie Stahl. If you want to do an interview with a chef, a celebrity, whatever, yeah, Leslie Stahl is the person for you. If you want to interview a politician, these days and ever after, from this point to the end of time, you have to know what you're doing. You have to be ready to ask them serious questions. You have to be ready to follow up. The American public is too savvy, and the stakes are too high. And we're never going to go back to the way things were, where we would watch our corporate media overlords deign to present us with a politician and do a puff piece on them and call it journalism. Those days are gone. And if I recall correctly, that 60 Minutes interview reflected that. Very few people bothered to watch it live. Viewers still looked it up online, and those that did more or less all had the same opinion of it, which is, what the are you doing, Leslie Stahl? Or they saw it was somebody who loved Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they did what they're trained to do in that audience. And if that's you, I'm sorry. This is my opinion, and if you want to disagree with me, tell me in the comments. I will address it. They did what they're trained to do, which is they saw the slightest bit of resistance to anything Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say, and they called Leslie Stahl a socialist and fake news and blah, 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 blah. You won't earn respect from the bad kids without backbone. You won't earn their respect. On this channel, I think I've made it pretty clear at this point that I intend for all of us to work together. That includes working with MAGA folks from time to time, because we do have issues of mutual interest. But you will notice, not blowing smoke at MAGA folks, and I'm not lying to them about where I stand, what I think of them, or what I think of their leaders. If it's you, I've had some harsh things to say. It's true, but I ain't never lied to you. And I'm not lying when I say we do have issues of mutual interest. Because I sincerely want to work with you, I am going to have the backbone to tell you what I think of you. Because just like I don't mind if Joe Biden has to go talk to a judge over something, if you think you're right, you got nothing to fear from the truth. Fortunately, new media and the new generation, regardless of age, I'm talking about when they entered the industry, the new generation of people reporting the news are doing a much better job. And I think that is also, in part, why we can expect to see more of Mehdi Hasan online. Franny P says 60 Minutes is no longer an in-depth news program. Consider ownership and advertisers. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Look at this. Lauren St. Laurent recommending a book. The book Evil Geniuses is one that explains how we got here, by A. Anderson, whose first name I forget. It explains what happened the last 50 years. Well, my friend, I'm thinking of starting some sort of a book club in the community tab. Maybe I'll do that for lobbyists. Speaking of, if you would like to ensure that I am still here in June, consider joining our membership program. It costs $5 a month, and it will pay my rent. Similarly, I would love it if you guys could share the streams, if you could subscribe if you haven't, and invite people to streams like this, like Peace Talks, where we are going to take viewer suggestions and hopefully sway some people. But it's about that time. I do want to advertise a little something that we're doing tomorrow, and also warn you away if it's not your cup of tea. Recently, while reading the comments of another video, I came across somebody who made a point that really bummed me out because they're right, damn it. Which is that it's not cool to make jokes about genitals. Yeah, I warned you up front, I am this immature. But I had a lot. I had like a whole lot saved up. I had like a notebook full. Because the historic first indictment of a president ever has a very good chance of involving discussions of the president's genitals. And it was funny in the 90s, harmful to the lady involved, and I regret laughing about it then. But it was funny in the 90s. It didn't stop being funny now. But because it's really not ethical to make those kinds of jokes any longer, what I'm going to do this Salty Saturday, that's tomorrow, folks. What I'm going to do, get them all off my chest and say goodbye to them. So the great marathon of Trump cock jokes, that's tomorrow. So if that sounds like fun to you, and you're willing to leave your maturity at the door, tune in. If not, I understand. I hope to see y'all then. That is tomorrow, Salty Saturday. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do, and this was Friday Peace Talks. I had a blast looking at this stuff with you today. I hope to see you tomorrow. My name's Jake. Foxy Dragon with the great question, what time? I don't know why I go to 9 p.m. on the weekends. That's got to be bad, right? To just change the time arbitrarily on the weekend. I was planning on 9. It's 9. 9 is the time. Should probably say that. And if you guys have ideas for times that are more convenient on the weekend, we'll certainly take those into account. Let me know in the comments. But yes, 9 p.m. Salty Saturday. Very immature stream. I'll see you then.